Today I'm very excited to have Tish Robbie as my guest. And Tish is an author and an opera singer. And she transitioned from singing and got a degree in opera at Ithaca College in New York and sang with Jim Henson and the Muppets. She was the voice behind all the girl Muppets. So we just have to hear this story. This is a story worth telling. Tish, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. So good to meet you and to be with you today.
Oh, it's a delight. Thank you.
Thank you. So tell us, Tish, how did you get started with going from opera, first of all, to being a children's author? You've written over 221 books. Your books are beautifully illustrated. They're fantastic stories. They're heartwarming. They're just quintessential to mark different points in lives of children and parents, helping them to understand the world and what's going on. So thank you for your contributions to the world. This is phenomenal.
Well, thank you. And it is funny because I did indeed. I started out to be an opera singer, went to college to be an opera singer. And everyone always says to me, how did you end up becoming a children's book author?
Well, before you go into that, did you perform opera? Were you on stage? Did you do some famous operas?
One would think, yes. I came to New York in the 1970s and thought I was a big shot in high school, big singer in college. New York is just waiting for me to come there,
and
to
they
show
were
up.
waiting.
So
they just didn't know.
They just didn't know, and I kind of missed it as well. So anytime I auditioned for something, and you know how back in then you had the auditions, you put your music up, and they played like two measures, and you sing, "There's no business like show business," and they think, "Well, thank you very much." And you're like, that was it.
That was it.
So every time anyone told me I had a beautiful voice, I knew in my head, well, I'm not, that's fine. But, how am I going to eat, for Wednesday?
Yeah.
So
still have to wait tables.
Wait tables. So only my mother would have come up with this. She found out that my high school music director, for whom I had sung the lead all 4 years in high school in the musicals, was named assistant music director for Sesame Street.
How cool is that?
And she said to me, get all dressed up, go to his office, tell him you're auditioning and it's not going that well. I go to meet him.
Jim Henson.
This was actually my music teacher.
Okay.
My music teacher in high school. He looks at me and he says, can you type? And I said, can I type? I'm one of the fastest. My first job on Sesame Street as a singer was hiring the other singers in New York to sing for the Muppets. All the jingle singers in the city, and all I wanted to do was sing for the Muppets.
Of course.
So I sang when I typed, and I sang when I filed, and I sang when I answered the phone. Sesame Street, may I help you? Well, after a year, they were all so sick of hearing me. I'm still friends with my cubicle mate. She said, we were so sick. Can you get her to stop?
That is funny. That is really hilarious.
Funny. Jim Henson came in one day and he said, well, I need a backup singer for Oscar Tuesday. And I'm like, I'm in.
Please, yes, now. Okay,
now it's my moment.
That is so great.
Listen, my parents, so my first big break was, I love trash. Everything dirty and dingy and dusty. Everything ragged and rotten and rusty. Oh, I love trash. My parents at home were like, I'm sorry. What? This is what you wanted to do.
It's okay.
But it was okay.
It's okay.
It was wonderful. And I sang for the Muppets for years.
It's not your vision maybe, but the impact and how your path led you down such an enormous potential and something that would change the lives of so many people. That's phenomenal.
It was wild. It was really the most creative time I've ever seen. Geniuses at work all the time.
Exactly.
Every
and
day.
they're still going strong.
Yep. 55 years, whatever it is. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They just celebrated a big anniversary.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's phenomenal. So I love this book, Bert and the Broken Teapot. This is the first book that you wrote.
Yes, indeed.
And it's under your maiden name. That was a few years ago.
Yes.
Because you said you've been married for
40
years.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
but really interesting. There I was, a young singer in New York, and I was singing for the Muppets. And to be honest, a lot of people involved with Sesame Street thought it was not going to be a hit. multiracial cast, 6-foot yellow bird. How is this going to go?
My daughter's first word was Big Bird.
There you go.
I mean, it's not a word, it's two words. But she was
still.
like, Big Bird, like Big Bird. And
All of a sudden,
the puppet, I had the Big Bird puppet. Yeah.
All of a sudden it takes off, and they hadn't thought about books, toys, merchandise, blah. So they kind of went around and asked us if any of us had an idea for a book. And I went down there, I got my courage, I went down to the presentation, and I remembered when I was in first grade, I was 6, I broke my great-great-grandmother's antique glass teapot.
Oh my God.
I was chasing my kitten, I hit the table, the thing went flying, millions of pieces, and I was so worried my mother was going to be upset and angry, and she came in the door and she saw me with the broken glass and holding my kitten and everything, and she said, I love you more than any old teapot. I go down to the Sesame Street brand new book department and I pitch this, and there is dead silence. I mean, I get through the whole thing and I'm like, ta-da, and nothing. From the back, the senior editor said, could you make it a story for Bert? Grover's got a book, Cookie's got a book, Big Bird has a book, Ernie has a book, Bert needs a book. And of course, as a brand new author, never had a book in her life, goes, Bert, that's
of course.
it. Of course.
Of course I will.
I thought of him. From the minute I had this idea, it was going to be for Bert.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
But in the book, really sweet, he breaks David's teapot when he's helping him in the restaurant.
Aww.
He spends the whole book trying to get it fixed. And in the end, he tells David, I broke your teapot. I'm sorry. You'll never be my friend anymore. And David says, Bert, I want you to work in my restaurant next Saturday. And I got so much mail that, it was not about stuff. It's about how you feel about your friend.
Well, and just to your point, what your mother said to you when you broke her teapot, her mother's teapot, I love you more than the teapot.
Right. And it really, really resonated. I have beautiful thank you letters and stuff. It was amazing. And after that, I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote.
Well, lovely.
So that
Just
was the
lovely.
beginning. That was number one.
That
This is
is just
one.
amazing. You just must have that book memorized.
I do.
Yes,
It's
yes.
true.
So why rhyming though in your stories? Because rhyming is difficult, and people always think, oh, I'll just write a rhyming children's story.
Right.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. And what we've found over the years is that it really helps kids learn by repetition.
Absolutely.
And you're got the speech
pathologist, yep.
background. And if the kids can hold on to a rhyme. And what happened was, once I started this first book, Bert and the Broken Teapot, was I think maybe the only, I wrote a few prose books. Said David, said Bert, and then I went into rhyme after that. I wrote for Nickelodeon and Blue's Clues and all of that. And that's how I ended up becoming a Dr. Seuss author.
Nice.
Because I submitted a book that Morris Aurorus is a Brachiosaurus, had the best voice in the dinosaur chorus. He liked to play tennis he liked to play tennis and swim in the sea, but mostly he liked to eat fresh broccoli. And in the end, the last line is, like it or this one thing is true and you cannot deny it. Like it or not, you won't know till you try it.
Oh, I love that.
Because all he ate was broccoli, drove his friends crazy, right? So I submitted it to Random House, and I got the bad news, good news phone call. The bad news was they weren't going to publish Morris Aurorus Brachiosaurus because they were the voice of rhyming. They were the company for rhyming Dr. Seuss. The good news was it was 1992. Dr. Seuss died in 1991, and they were looking for someone to move his image, his
to continue
legacy forward. And I was hired right then to do it. Which is amazing.
That is amazing. Well, I mean, it might have been bad news, but certainly it's a trajectory that took you further down a path than you would have otherwise gone. So
it's true.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
And I say this every year, but I am going to publish Morris Aurorus Brachiosaurus, even if I do it myself, just because he still is in some box someplace, and he made the whole thing happen. So I will get him out for sure.
So you're self-published. You were with Random House, you said previously, but quit doing that and then decided to become your own publisher.
I did indeed. During COVID in 2020, I turned 70 years old, and I said, okay, now what? And I literally have written for everybody. HarperCollins, Houghton Mifflin, the list goes on. But I wanted to do books that some of the big publishers on topics the big publishers weren't covering. And I was delighted to do my first book about sleep, helping little kids get to sleep. It's called Sweet Dreams Ahead, Time for Bed. Also, I've used my musical background to put songs in a lot of my books. That one has a little beautiful little lullaby to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So I wanted to just continue, and frankly, I couldn't imagine retiring and do what?
Right.
And we've been in business 5 years. I'm a women-owned small business, very proud of it.
And what is that?
It's called Tish Robbie Books.
Okay, I thought there was something else.
No,
okay,
just it's women-owned. But it was really interesting because I applied to be federally recognized as a woman-owned small business.
No.
And it was amazing. A lot of work.
Right.
But a lot of paperwork. But I am set up now. So let's just say the Department of Education or Defense or Head Start or somebody needed a book. I'm set up to provide that for them. So because I'm certified. So it was huge, but I tried it, so it was good.
Very good. Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
phenomenal. So you were the voice of the Muppets. And,
Voice of the Muppets, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the book that Sometimes Apart, Always in My Heart. Of course, it's another rhyming book. And we have Alaska on the table. Alaska is an adorable little husky.
Yes, he is.
And he's a rescue.
And he's a rescue.
And that is so important because rescues don't feel like they're loved at some point, but then we bring them into our hearts.
Well, the story of this is amazing because over the years, I am the child of a World War II hero. My dad was in World War II and jumped out of a burning plane over Germany, landed in Germany in the middle of the night, spent 3 days in a tree, got down out of the tree to get some food and was arrested and was in German prison camp for 2 years.
That's
almost.
really horrific.
And when he came back, he and my mom wanted to have kids right away. So they had 2 little boys and a little girl, and the little girl was me. And all the time, I'm writing children's books, like, 12 a year and stuff. I wanted to write a book for military kids.
Of course you did, because you were one.
I was one.
And you understood that story. Did your dad talk about it, though? Typically for WW2,
it's really interesting. You're right. When we were little, he didn't talk about it much, but when we became teenagers,
he wanted to
share his story.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely fascinating. And year after year after year, and in 2018, my husband and I went to Hawaii, and somehow, looking back, I don't know how I did this, I shipped 1,000 of my Dr. Seuss books to the kids on the Pearl Harbor base.
Oh, wow.
And they created 3 huge author visits for me. And on the 3rd one, I've got this big, orchid layer on my neck, and my husband does too when we got the kids. And a little boy leaned against my husband. And he's a father of 4, and he looked down and he said, "Are you okay?" And the little boy looked up and said, "I miss my mom."
Of course.
And from that day forward, that's 2018, I said, I will write a book for military kids. And I tried everything. Department of Defense turned me down. It goes on and on.
Why? Why would they turn you down?
I don't know. It's, I guess, red tape, bureaucracy. And I just said, I just want to help these kids.
Of course.
To be honest, I was hoping that the Department of Defense would take the sleep book, because the kids don't sleep well.
It's hard, yeah.
Because Dad left at 2:00 and Mom's leaving at 6:30. It's crazy. But I couldn't reach anybody. And finally, one day in 2022, I went and got clearance to go to the Naval Base Library in Groton.
Nice.
And I literally, 4.5 hours, they stacked up all the books they had for military families for this kind of topic of deployment and being apart from your parents. I read them all. And I'll never forget it. I was leaving, and I thought, there's a book in here that I can write that's going to, coalesce all of this.
Exactly.
And I'm leaving, and I told the librarian what I wanted. And she looked right at me, and she said, well, you need to email Samantha unitedthroughreading.org. And I remember driving home and thinking, who is unitedthroughreading.org?
Tell us.
So I got on my computer and I wrote her. I said, this is who I am, and I write books, and I'd like to help. And she sent me back an email the next day.
Wow.
That said, oh my goodness, we have been using your books for deployed parents to read to their kids for years.
So she already knew about
She
you.
knew who I was.
Phenomenal.
And it was phenomenal. And from then, immediately, the partnership between United Through Reading and myself was just magic, because I wanted to write a book that was their story. Yes, they were reading Dr. Seuss to their kids, and Goodnight Moon, and Very Hungry Caterpillar, yay. But I wanted to write a story so the kids at home knew, I'm okay, you're okay. You know, you're having a good day, I'm having a good day.
Right.
You know, I'm right here, you're right here. And one of the things I interviewed, oh my gosh, service members, partners, spouses, and kids. And one thing I heard over and over was they say to the kids, there's only one moon in the sky. And if you look up, you know that mommy's looking up, and it's the same moon.
I love that.
So every time you see the moon with its gentle light, know I am safe, and you are safe, and everything's all right. I'll be lucky if I get through this.
Well, that's really
sorry.
profound, and I love the rhyme. I see the moon, and the moon sees me, and the moon sees someone I want to see. You've heard that one before.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Same thing. Same
kind of
message.
idea.
It's just so powerful. And I've always thought about that, especially when the moon is bright. We just had the strawberry moon, and it was a clear night that night. It didn't rain that evening, so it was so beautiful to look up and see that big orb in the sky.
The big sky.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing is amazing to me is the time that the service members took to talk to me. One, I'll never forget it. I was talking to an officer in Singapore, and it's a 12-hour gap. So 9 a.m. for me was 9 p.m. for him.
Sure, of course.
And at one point he said, you know, I really ought to go. I leave tomorrow for a year. He had a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old. And just the devotion and the dedication page in this book means a lot to me, because it says this book is dedicated to the brave service members who sacrifice so much to defend and protect our freedom, and to the children who wait for them to come home. They're
It's
truly
such a sacrifice.
they're truly the youngest heroes. The other thing I
love that. They are truly the youngest heroes. And I think we need to reframe that for families, military families, because we don't necessarily. I told you about my interview that I did with Jim Enderle, and he was deployed 3 times, and him trying to explain to his middle school children at the time, I'm going to be gone for a year, 12 months, 365 days, 4 seasons, these birthdays, all of the things that happened in that time.
What they miss is just.
And as a civilian,
how would you know?
How would you know?
How would you know? I put a page in the back of the book, which was really interesting, because it was my idea. I said to United Through Reading that as a civilian mom and grandmother, I said I had no idea what this life is like. And the kids move every 2.5 to 3 years. They're always the new kid in school. But the thing that resonated with me the most was what it's like. The women I worked with at United Through Reading got relocated. So I'm talking to her, she's in San Diego. Next thing I know, she's in Nebraska. And they land in their new home knowing literally no one.
Right.
And I put a line, some stuff in the book about being kind to the new kid in school.
Absolutely.
Because really?
It's very hard. We moved a lot. My husband was a biotech kind of move around guy, so we moved from Nebraska to Utah to Massachusetts, up to Vermont, back to Nebraska to Connecticut. So I understand that movement and the transitions, and that's so hard for the adult, I don't think, because I was like, oh, this is an adventure, but the kids,
oh man,
the kids weigh it.
They do. And some kids don't want to be your friend because they know you're going to leave. So why should you be my best friend? I mean, that part of it was very poignant for me because how would you know?
How do you
that's
know
what they're going through?
And how do you help them?
Right.
How do you mitigate? How do you help them drive that path?
Yes.
Wow.
So the book was selected as the book for the military child. I'm very proud of that.
Congratulations. That's
you.
phenomenal.
It's very exciting.
Very exciting. Well, you're changing lives and you're giving hope and you're giving perspective. You're helping them to understand. And the love is there. You're showing that. They're getting that. They're feeling that.
And the other thing is just the idea that United Through Reading has been doing this for 30 years and literally helping service members record themselves, right? Read the book. Then they give the recording to the child. Then they give the child a free book. And, getting the word out about them.
I love that.
I mean, I've done books my whole life. I'd never heard of what
I'm so
doing.
glad to be aware of them.
Yeah.
And United Through Reading, and it's a nonprofit.
Yes.
And where is it actually located?
Their base is San Diego.
Okay.
But they're all over the world. And they literally took our book, my book, Sometimes Apart, Always in My Heart, and shipped them all over the world. I think sometimes kids in the United States don't understand that United States kids are living in everywhere. Everywhere. And so that's one of the reasons they're soft cover. You're a book person, you understand this, because they had to be shipped everywhere, all over the world.
And what a nice gift. So mom or dad, whoever it is, the adult, they do voice recording, also visual recording.
Yes. So it's exactly, so you just stand there and you're reading your book, and then they send the recording. And it's really interesting because some people are going, I don't understand this because there's FaceTime, and can't they FaceTime their kids? No, because every single spouse and partner told me it doesn't matter when it's planned, it will never happen. And then the child is sitting there totally disappointed. The other thing they call it.
And if you can, before you go on, I'm just thinking, and then the child has some control too. The child can say, I want to hear mommy's voice. I want mommy to read me this story, and they can, wherever it is, on an iPad or an app or wherever it is, pull it up, and there's going to be a comforting thing, a calming thing, like daddy's reading to me, mommy's reading to me now, and they've got that face where the heartfelt eyes looking at the child or looking at the book and holding the pages up.
And one of the dads said the kids call it mommy TV. And they watch it over and over.
Of course
and
they
over
would.
And over. So now they've memorized the book. Not only they see her or him, but they've also memorized the book.
And the language, and the vocabulary, and the rhyming, all of those things that are literacy skills, pre-literacy skills, helping them to learn to read and write. And daddy or mommy, the military parent, is facilitating that.
And the other thing, nobody misses story time because they can't read to their kids every night like they do when they're home. The other thing that's interesting for United Through Reading is that how important books are to military kids because they move all the time.
Right.
But they bring their books with them. That's like a comfort blanket. They know the book, they recorded the book, they read the book, the mom's reading it, we're all got the book. It's very comforting. For them when they move so often.
Absolutely.
So that's powerful.
I'm a strong proponent of literacy. I think literacy is the fastest way to remediate language and to help kids to grow exponentially. Let's talk about Alaska, this cute
Alaska. Oh my God, I love this story. So this is really interesting, and I share this with your audience because this is unusual. Usually as a children's book author, you create characters. I created Morris Aurora's Brachiosaurus, who will soon see the light of day, hopefully. And what you do is you go to a plush manufacturer and you say, could you make me a Morris Aurora's Brachiosaurus? This little dog I got at Lee's Hobby in Groton, and I was buying something for my granddaughter, and one of these little guys literally fell in my bag. And I took him back to my office and I said to my team, I wanted to feature a shelter animal. And what I did is the reverse of what usually happens. Instead of make Morris Aurora's Brachiosaurus out of nowhere, take him, he exists. I sent him to my art director. I sent him to my illustrator in London. She hand paints the pictures. And I said, I want this to be the shelter dog that lives with the daddy bear's family while he is deployed. So they adopt him in the book after he's gone. He has never met him. A classic example of what these parents miss. They miss births and birthdays and Christmas and everything.
Baseball games. Ballet recitals.
Teacher conferences, everything.
Everything.
So I had heard from one of the interviewees, of the women I interviewed, that there's a lot of training and a lot of families in Alaska. So just out there, you authors, you should know that the first thing you do when you name one of these people is Google the name, and Alaska did not come up.
Thank
heavens.
Yeah.
So he's Alaska, and he's serving his country by taking care of the kids and the mom while Daddy bears away.
Of course.
And Alaska, sometimes apart, always in my heart. And from a production department situation, all they had to do, this is Douglas Toys in Keene, New Hampshire, is put his name on his little banner here.
I love it.
But he already existed. So it's just so super sweet and very soft.
Well, you're stroking it, and people need to know how soft
He is
Alaska
so
is.
soft.
He's so soft. And I love the picture on the back cover. In school, we always teach front cover, back cover, spine. Yeah, so on the back cover, and I don't know if Drew can capture that, but Daddy is meeting Alaska once he gets returned from his deployment from the first time. Yeah, yeah. He already has loved and protected the family. Now he's loving Daddy. So
right.
That's phenomenal.
And it's fun as an author. I could see a book about him. I could see a little Alaska book about, what it means to be a dog, a military dog. I mean, he's
from his
perspective. What was it like? All of a sudden, there he is. And then the other thing we talked about earlier, but it's true, a lot of service families have to leave their dogs behind if they get deployed somewhere and they can't take the dog. So animals, cats, dogs, mean a lot to these families because hopefully they can pack up a dog and go with him to Singapore with them, but sometimes they can't.
No,
that's very difficult.
Can't. Right, depending upon where they're headed.
Yep.
Oh boy,
it's huge.
Huge stuff, right? So, Tish, you are all over the place. You are at Mystic Seaport August 8th.
That's right, with my band, Tish Robbie and Friends.
Tish Robbie and Friends. You're going to be August 31st at the Steak Loft in Mystic.
Yep.
You must live close to Mystic or in Mystic.
We live in Mystic. We're right downtown.
So if we see you on the street, we'll say, hey, Tish.
And my website is tishrobbybooks.com.
tishrobbybooks.com, and it's TISHRABBEBOOKS.com. Okay, so
all the books are on there. Alaska's on there. He's waiting to go home with you.
Beautiful. And you're at Chamber of Commerce events periodically?
I am. I'm a very big, strong supporter of the Chamber of Commerce. And actually, I have just been awarded an award from the state of Connecticut for writing the book for the military child.
Lovely.
So
congratulations.
Thank you to the
huge.
Chamber of Commerce for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And how many families do you think you're impacting with that?
Well, I'm hoping that we get the distribution, get out there to as many families as we can reach. United Through Reading sent a bunch out. I'm working with hopefully the USO to try to get distribution.
What is USO?
I don't know. You know what? Like they used to do this back in the day. They used to do the big
I don't
events.
know.
Anyway, we're hoping to get more books out to more
But if we
kids.
support you, if we give money to United Through Reading, then that would help to support this initiative that you are championing. Did I say that right?
That's right.
So
reading.
Champion reading. So getting the idea out there, supporting the families, giving them hope, giving them something to cuddle and snuggle when they're feeling lonely.
They're unitedthroughreading.org, and it is the most inspiring group of people I have ever worked with. And they're really trying to help.
Well, keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you for being my
having
guest
me. It was
today.
so fun.
It was lovely.
Alaska had fun too, right, Alaska?
I think Alaska needs to be a puppet and have his own little voice.
I mean, you should have said something. We got to get a voice for him. We'll work on that. Thank you.
Thank you.